How you doing, guys? My name is Brother Paul from Are You Saved Media Connections, and this is what the Lord has done for me. Back in 2006, my wife and I, we decided that we wanted to leave New York City, and we were on a journey. We were studying with different people. We were studying about studying country living. We were learning about what it's like to leave, to leave the city. And we grew up in New York City. We didn't want to leave New York City, but we got married in 2003, and we have been studying with some friends. And we said we wanted to leave. Three pivotal things happened in our lives. After we got married, the year after we got married, my wife's grandfather passed. Then the year after that, my dad and her grandmother passed. And what was instrumental in our lives, just before that, what brought us together was 2001, what happened on 9/11. So growing up in New York City, we thought everything was secure. New York City is the place to be. When 9/11 took place, my wife we weren't married at the time, but she gave her life to the Lord. Then shortly after that, we got married. I wanted to take being with God, walking with God a little more seriously. And so I wanted to leave acting like faking being a Christian and being more a Christ-like person. So I decided to walk more circumspectly with God. So I don't want to get involved too much with how we got married, because not that that's a bad thing, but I want to get more into the detail of why this is a testimony and why me moving out of the city was a testimony. So what we thought to ourselves was, after we got married in 2003, we thought we were just going to live in New York and buy a house and do all this and that, but that's not what happened. What ended up happening is that after our studies, we both read the book Country Living, and then I was a Pathfinder director in New York City at a church called Linden Seventh-day Adventist Church. What happened is one of my Pathfinders, they told me, "Oh, I just bought a house in the Poconos," and he said, "Hey, come visit us." 2 weekends after that, we went and visited. That was in 2005. We went and visited his home in the Poconos, and we went there for a weekend. We were enamored by how beautiful it was being out in the semi-country. We went to eat on a Sabbath lunch with him, and then a Sabbath lunch, we looked at his backyard. We saw a deer in the backyard of his house, and we said that was our first thing in our head to say, we got to get out of New York. We started looking for houses immediately in New York City. And at that time, my daughter, who happens to be walking by right now, my daughter was in my mother's belly, in my wife's belly. And it was such a blessing for us to move. My wife was fully pregnant while we were looking for houses in the Poconos. And so we bought a house in the Poconos. We lived in the Poconos, and we were happy. We said, "Oh, look, we had a nice house. We had 1 acre of property," and we said, "Oh, this is great. We're out of the city." And when our family was close enough to visit, it was only 2 hours away, 2.5 hours away from where we lived, 2 hours away from where we lived in New York City, and so it was convenient for our family to visit us. But in our heart, we still felt a burning to come out of we said, "Okay, we're out of New York City, so we're okay," but we still felt like the Poconos really wasn't it. It was kind of semi out of the city. So my wife and I were studying a little bit more. We still had a burning desire in our heart that there's more to this than just living by ourselves. And so, we had our children. We were a blended family, and we were just growing in the Lord together. And 5 years ago, 2020, I met a good friend of mine that I knew from New York City. Really nice guy, great personality. His name is Earl. So Earl, if you get a chance to see this, you were the impetus that got us out of the Poconos, and he already knows that. So we were he told me, hey, you know, I've heard that you want to buy, that you're looking for more country property. We were looking around in the Poconos to see if there was any kind of property there for us to check out and see what was available. And so we looked here and there. We just saw we wanted, you know, 10 or 20 acres we wanted to get, but we couldn't find anything. And when we saw something, it was, you know, $10,000 an acre and something like that. We couldn't afford that. So a friend of mine had some property in Tennessee, and he told me, hey, come and visit my property, see what we have down here, come take a look at it. So I came down in December of 2020. December of 2020, we came down to Tennessee, and it was Waynesboro, Tennessee. We visited his property, we got to know his family, and when we got to know his family, we saw the people there, we said, wow, we thought we was gonna come down and see Confederate flags and people were gonna be not wanting people looking like me around, but that wasn't what happened. What ended up happening is that I fell in love with being down in Tennessee, fell in love with that country life down there. And it was down south, the weather was warmer, I was tired of being up north, and that same time we were coming to visit, I came and visited by myself. My wife, I called Keisha, that's my wife, Keisha, and I called her and I said, Keisha, I love it down here. It reminds me of the Poconos, except it's more country. And she said, okay, you know, she said, well, come visit. And I said, there's a school down here. School's name is Harvard Hills Academy. And I said, it's a self-supporting Adventist school. And we had never heard about self-supporting Adventist school. We didn't know anything about self-supporting work. I mean, I knew about Meat Ministry. I knew about I knew about Apocalypse Ministries. I knew about a few other ministries around, but I didn't know anything about self-supporting ministry. I knew about being Present Truth Adventist, but I didn't know about self-supporting ministry. So we came down. She put in an application for the school. I, being the type of guy that I am, I would call often to the school to speak to Mr. Joe. He was the principal at the time, and I'll say, Mr. Joe, we want to come down to visit. We're coming down to visit in April of 2021. And so we came and visited April 2021 a few different times, one time. And when we came for that visit, we only going to visit the school. We weren't coming to visit for an interview or anything like that. We just wanted to see what the school is like. And she had already put the application in. So we got down here, and when we got down here, I'm in Orlando right now, but when we got to Tennessee, we went to visit the school. We were going to spend 2 or 3 days there, and when we visited the school, we were just sitting in the room in one of the guest rooms, staying there in one of the guest houses, and they said, oh, Miss Keisha, we'd like to speak to you. And so they called us. I went and spoke with her. We sat down with the principal at the time, who was Mr. Joe, and when we sat down with the principal, he gave us an interview, and I was like, I wasn't expecting that. And then my wife, we still was questionable, and as she said, my wife said, what are we gonna do? And we decided, hey, if they call us, you know, we're gonna come down. So they gave us a call. Well, they didn't call us, but I was still excited. Anyway, we went to go look at the property. And when we looked at the property, my wife, we met some friends down there. We met some friends, Sherman and Paul. Miss Sherman is her name, and her husband Paul. We got to know them, and we met their family. We spent a whole week down here, and we had a great time in Tennessee. And we said, man, we really enjoyed these people. We got back to Pennsylvania, we were excited. We were saying, well, what are we gonna do? Hey, if they call us, we'll take it. And I said, okay. We went back to Pennsylvania. Mr. Joe called maybe 2 weeks after that, and actually I called Mr. Joe and I said, Mr. Joe, hey, do you want my wife to take the job? And he said, oh no, I'll call you and let you know. So I was nervous. My wife was like, oh, they're not gonna want me. You know, she wasn't a lady that wore dresses all the time, and we thought, oh, we got to wear these long dresses to be at the campus. They're not going to want us. We're city folk. And what ended up happening, he called us. And he said, you know what, we want to offer you a job, and we would like for you to come down in May. And it was May. She said, the end of May, we want you to come down. And we were like, May? How are we going to come down? We live in a house. We have a whole house. We have two young adult children living with us, and we had our younger children, and our older kids decided they were not gonna move with us, but they moved to North Carolina. So my son Dwight and my older son Dwight and our middle daughter Kyla, they live in North Carolina, in Charlotte, North Carolina. They decided they were going to stay in Charlotte, North Carolina. They weren't going to come live with us in Tennessee. And then, hey, what's going on? And then we decided that we were going to come down to Tennessee. And we said, okay, if God sells our house for us, we'll take the job. I said, okay. So we called a real estate agent. That real estate agent said, no problem, we'll take care of it. He said, when do you want us to post the house? We'll post the house today. So in May, we posted our house. We posted our house on Thursday. The very next, as soon as we posted the house, the real estate agent started getting calls right away. And my wife would get calls to the house, and my wife, she said, no, we don't want nobody. People would call and say, we want to come visit. My wife would say, no, we're not going to come visit. And the real estate agent called her right away and said, no, you can't reject people taking the house. If they want to come visit, you got to let them visit. So that was a Thursday. So then she opened up whatever agents open up to sell your house. She opened up the market back up for our house. We got 3 offers by the end of Thursday. And then by Friday, we said, okay, this number, if it gets this number, we'll sell the house. When it got to the number, and the house was on the market Thursday, and on Friday, the house was sold. And we were like, wow, this is happening too fast, way too fast. But anyway, we sold the house, and between April, May, June, we packed up between May and June, we packed up our whole house. We sold our house, the whole house was sold, packed it all up. We vacated the house by the end of June. By the beginning of July, we were in Savannah, Tennessee, living at Harbor Hills Academy. And that was amazing to us. And so it was, to me, I never thought, you always read about these stories in the Bible about how God answers your prayers immediately. And another hidden gem with us moving to the Tennessee, our daughter Anaya, she was doing cyber school, and she's so socially interactive that she didn't want to. I could see that she liked doing cyber school, but she really missed the social interaction that she had with being in school, because she had been in Adventist school all of her life. She got to come down to Harbor Hills Academy and was in a school with international students here in the United States, students from various parts of the world. And she got an opportunity to finish her last 2 years of high school and to be socially interactive with young people. So and now our youngest son, who's 12 now, he can ride up and down on a 500-acre campus and we don't have to worry. So I'm telling you guys, for those, just my life, with my family, again, my name is Paul Richards. That's my testimony. There's a whole lot more that's of my life, but it was such a blessing to see how God can work, when 2 people can just be faithful, trust God. We're not perfect people, but we're people who want to follow God and want to follow His mission. So as I often say, to continue to believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, thou shalt be saved. But also, just as a tag meeting with my dear brother here who asked me to do this interview, Brother Shelton, Keep following the Lord. You don't know the plan that he has for you. Keep following the Lord and trust him. Trust your whole entire life to him, and he will take you places you never thought you'd go. Praise God. God bless you.